assumes, right? It assumes that there is something that is not B, right? If I say everything is B, and I'm saying that claim is false, it's not true that everything is B. Well, if it's not true that everything is B, meaning it's false. If I say it's not true that everything is B, then what does that mean? Well, if it's false that everything is B, something has to not be B. But if that's also false, then what you're saying is nonsense. It's nonsensical, right? So it can't be the case, again, for these contradictories that both are true, and I'll write this down, right? Both cannot be T, T, or F, F. Right? You cannot have true, true, or false, false. One has to be true, one has to be false. It doesn't matter which one. But for contradictories, one has to be false, one has to be true. Okay, so, all right, so we've done 1 and we've done 2, right? So we're in contradictories, we did 1 and we did 2. If 4 is true, then 1 has to be false. Both cannot be true, both cannot be false. We did that. So now we're on to number 3, right? Number 3 says if 2 is true, right? If 2 is true, something is B, right? If it is true that something is in fact B, then 3 has to be false, right? Then 3 has to be false. Nothing is B. I mean, that's obvious, right? If I say something is B, then to say that nothing is B is just, I hope it's clear that that's just obviously false, right? It doesn't make sense, it's contradictory to make the claim that, no, something is B, oh, nothing's B. Right, I think that one's pretty easy, right? Similarly, if you start with 3, remember we're going both directions, if you start with 3 and you say that there is nothing that's B, then it's obviously contradictory to say that something is B. Your statement is illogical. You're not making any sense. You're contradicting yourself, right? If you say nothing is B and then you say, oh no, something is B, well, that's a contradiction. You can't hold both of those statements to be true, right? One can be true, one can be false, but both can't be true, both can't be false, just like we said before. So it makes sense, right? Nothing is B. Well, if nothing is B, okay, if that's true, if we say that nothing is B is true, then we see that something is B has to be false. If we see that something is B is true, there is something that is B, then to say that there's nothing that's B is obviously false because we just stated that something is B is true, right? So that should make sense. If it didn't make sense, then just stick to the real bootleg, sort of ghetto style, is the recognition, just straight memory, especially if this is when you're just starting. Anytime you see the diagonal move, you know it's a contradiction with respect to the way that it's structured. Anytime you see a diagonal move, you know it's a contradiction, right? Not only that, but you recognize that insofar as it's a contradiction, the only viable relationship is one true, one false. Doesn't matter which one. True, true, not going to happen. False, false, not going to happen. Just commit that to memory, you'll be cool, right? That's it. Just commit it to memory, you'll be cool. I think the examples should have explained it clearly, but if it didn't, then as a fail-safe, just make sure that you recognize diagonal moves are contradictory moves. And this is all sort of my bootleg way of saying this. This is probably a more eloquent way of saying this, but it doesn't really matter because I want you to understand the concepts. I don't want you to be able to talk fancy, right? That's what's important, right? So that should be it, right? That's it. So we've done contradictories. So that's done. That's good. So now we can move on. Where's my black? We can move on from contradictories, right? So contradictories have been done. Hopefully I have enough space for all this. We've done our contradictories. The next, we want to do our contraries, right? I'm going to do our contraries. I'll explain that. So let's do contraries. C-O-N-T-R-A-R-I-E-S. Right? We want to do contraries. Okay? Contraries. What do we say about contraries, right? Our contraries are, you can imagine that this board is divided in the middle. So we have a top half and we have a bottom half, right? With respect to the division of the board, right, we see that we have sort of a double-sided arrow, a biconditional relationship arrow going horizontally, not diagonally, at the top, and a horizontal arrow bidirectionally at the bottom. The top horizontal bidirectional arrow is known as our contrary relationship, right? Or contraries, right? So 1 and 3, 1 and 3, 1 and 3, and 3 and 1 are representations of our contrary relationships, right? So 1 and 3 can both be false, right, for our contrary relationships. 1 and 3, this relationship is defined insofar as both can be false, but both cannot be true. I'll explain that in a second, right? So both can be false, but both, and when I explain it, it'll be clear. Both cannot be true. Both can be false, but both cannot be, right? For our contraries, both can be false, but both cannot be true. I can say that everything is, and we're on contraries number 5, everything is B, okay? Nothing is B, right? I can't obviously make the statement, both cannot be true. It cannot be the case that everything is B and nothing is B, because if I'm saying everything is B, and then I say it's true, and then I say nothing is B is true, this is not going to work. Both can't be true. However, both, as we see, 1 and 3 can both be false, right? When we're talking about contrary, and this will be really simple to explain, hopefully, I can say that both can be false. How? If it's false that everything is B, and hopefully I explained this. Did I explain this? Yeah. If it's false that everything is B, that's not true. And it's false that nothing is B, then what I'm saying is that it's at least possible that something is B. I'm not saying that everything is B, and I'm not denying the existence of B. I'm just saying that all of it isn't B. Then at least it's the case that something is B, right? Then it's at least the case that something is B. I don't want to move too quickly because that was an additional step, right? But if I say that this is false, right? If I say that this is false, and I say that this is false, right? This is false, and this is false. Well, I have to recognize that it could be the case that something is B, right? If something is B. So with respect to our contraries, keep in mind that really the limitation in our contraries is that both of the statements, 1 and 3, can both be false, but you cannot have the statement that 1 and 3 are both true, right? If I say, again, everything is B, it's false. It's false. That means everything is not B. That does not say that there couldn't be something that's B, right? That's still preserved, right? Something is B is still preserved. If I say nothing is B, if I'm saying that nothing is B is false, right? It's false. Remember, we're trying to make both statements false to demonstrate that you can do this, but to also demonstrate that if I say nothing is B is false, well, as long as this is false or true, it doesn't affect it. It's only when everything is B is true and nothing is B is true that I run into a problem, right? So I don't know how to make it simpler than that. I hope that was clear. I feel like it was a little jarbled, but that's as clear as I can make it. Let me see if I can do anything different. But not true. I think that's the clearest way I can explain it. Right. Right, that makes sense, right? I can't explain it simpler than that, right? If I say that everything is B is true, and I say that nothing is B is true, I hope you can see the contradiction, or not even the contradiction, but the impossibility of the claim, right? Everything is B and nothing is B is incompatible. With respect to